Hey Tubies, it's Psychic Bob. It is so good to be with you. Well, here we are, it's Saturday, and you know that means it's time for our Spiritualist class and our seance. And so many of you over the last few weeks have been writing to me and saying how much you are enjoying the Spiritualist class. I have a lot of people here who say they are now considering their religion to be Spiritualism, and that makes me very happy. Some of you, who may not be interested in Wicca have said, well, I'm not really a Wiccan, but I really resonate with that Spiritualism. So that makes me happy because, as you know, I practice both faiths. I'm a Wiccan and a Spiritualist. And I was a Spiritualist first before I became a Wiccan. And when I joined the Wiccan movement, I told them I'd been a Spiritualist. I said, do I have to give that up? Or, so my teacher at the time, she said, oh no, she said, bring whatever talents and skills and knowledge you have with you. So the craft welcomes it. So I've been able to retain my Spiritualist faith and add to that my Wiccan faith. So I find them both wonderful. But as I said, many of you have been writing and saying, well, I've been learning about Spiritualism. I feel like I am a Spiritualist. What you're teaching resonates. And so today I thought we would talk about Spiritualism, because in the Spiritualist church, they define Spiritualism. They say Spiritualism is a science, a philosophy, and a religion. So it's really all threes. And whatever way you want to incorporate Spiritualism into your life, you can. Some people approach it from a scientific place. They say, I only want to study phenomena and categorize it. They do haunted house investigations. They treat it very scientifically. But for them, that scientific aspect, I can't talk today, is very enriching. And that is their religion or their science, their belief. It's also a philosophy because it's a way to understand life and how to live it. And it's a religion because for some people it's a high sacred truth. It's the truth of their souls. And they honor it and celebrate it. So it's a religion. So I thought today I would read from the Spiritualist hymnal. They have about the 3 points of Spiritualism right in the front. By the way, I'm still working on getting a Spiritualist manual, which I will have soon. That goes more in depth. But this is a great intro to it. Okay. So I want to read this to you. Put on my reading glasses here. All right. Spiritualism is a science because it investigates, analyzes, and classifies facts and manifestations demonstrated from the spirit side of life. Let's pause there. This is just what I was saying earlier. It's so true because for some people, they approach this whole phenomena from a scientific standpoint. You can investigate Spiritualism, you can analyze Spiritualism, and you can classify it. And so the reality of this other world that interacts with us can be studied from a scientific place. And in fact, as I said last week, in the old days of Spiritualism, scientists, prominent scientists, like I can't think of their names, like Faraday and Crookes and the big ones at the turn of the 20th century, late 1800s, early 1900s. A lot of the top scientists started scientific investigations of Spiritualism. And they were able to classify, codify, and document the evidences of this interaction between humans and the spirit world. So absolutely, if you're a scientific type, so I got to have facts, figures, and numbers, research the early days of Spiritualism, okay? Point number 2, Spiritualism is a philosophy because it studies the laws of nature, both the seen and unseen sides of life, and bases its conclusions upon present observed facts. It accepts statements of observed facts of past ages and conclusions drawn therefrom, when sustained by reason and by results of observed facts of the present day. Let me read that again. Spiritualism is a philosophy because it studies the laws of nature, both on the seen and unseen sides of life, and bases its conclusions upon present observed facts. It accepts statements of observed facts of past ages and conclusions drawn therefrom, when sustained by reason and by results of observed facts of the present day. So what this means is that, in philosophy, you want to study reason, logic's form of philosophy. I don't know how many of you study philosophy. I took a philosophy class in college. One of my favorite classes. It actually drove some people totally insane because we used to have a professor and he had a desk at the front of the room. He'd sit on the desk and he'd say, what is the essence of the desk? Does the desk exist in and of itself? Is there a higher desk? If we leave the room and nobody's thinking about the desk and we don't see it, is it still in existence? And he used to mess with our minds. Some people just couldn't handle it. They'd freak out. A lot of forgive me for saying, a lot of the fundamentalists in the class, fundamentalist Christians, and they would be upset. They'd say, God made the desk and you're not honoring God. And they'd get up and walk out. I went to school down the South. It was Bible Belt, and some people just couldn't handle philosophy. It rattled their world. But see, this is the wonderful thing about spiritualism. Spiritualism is a philosophy. And a philosophy, as it says here, can study the observed facts. Now, what's interesting here is it says it accepts statements of observed facts of past ages and conclusions drawn therefrom. So what it means is that the philosophers of old, their understandings, their theories, their observations, you can bring that into spiritualism. You don't have to discard it. And I can say this because I know that in a lot of the more traditional Christian churches, they view philosophy as a threat to Christianity because it makes presuppositions that aren't always in line with traditional Christian thought. Well, spiritualism doesn't hold on to the sacred cow. They don't say, oh, this is sacrosanct, you can't question it. Let's dialogue, let's question, let's explore. I can tell you when I went into the Spiritualist church, I found the philosophical side very refreshing because I tend to be more of an intellectual person. I like to think and analyze. Also, as you know from astrology, I'm an Aquarius. Aquarius are very up in their head. Spiritualism was the first church I ever encountered that said, what's in your head is valid. You don't have to suppress it to believe in some doctrine, some rule. For example, if you go into some churches, and I'm not picking on anyone, but I'll use the Catholic Church because I've seen this. The Catholic Church will say, this is what we believe, and you cannot believe outside, and if you do, you're in error and sin. That sort of mindset does not exist in the Spiritualist church. The Spiritualist church says, maybe our golden calf is not gold. Maybe it's plated plastic, and we should examine it closer. And it doesn't mean that they don't respect sacred truth, but it means that they don't hold anything so sacrosanct that it can't be open to exploration and question. This, I think, is why spiritualism draws a lot of free thinkers. You'll find in the spiritualist movement that philosophical aspect is very prominent. And on any Sunday, you might hear a sermon from one preacher one week. They'll be totally opposite of what a preacher says the next week. But in spiritualism, that's not considered, heresy or blasphemy. It's considered philosophical. Okay, that minister views this that way, and the other one says it that way. And they let the congregation decide, what do you believe? It's funny. I probably the only other church I've seen this in is the Unitarian Church. One time I was at a Unitarian church, and during the sermon, people in the audience start asking questions of the minister, challenging points, not in a bad way, just questioning, and it was almost like a college class. I've actually seen that also in the Spiritualist church, where, in fact, I used to do sermons. I was one of the resident mediums, and when we didn't have an ordained licensed minister, the resident mediums would do the service. And so there were Sundays when I'd get up and do a service, and as I'd finish my sermon, people would raise their hands and start asking questions. You don't see that at most churches, but the Spiritualist church, you'll see that. So this philosophical side of spiritualism, I think, is one of its greatest assets. So I would encourage you, if you're a thinking person and you're not happy with just rules being dictated, it is thus and thus is so, you might want to explore spiritualism because it says we're open to discussion. The third point is spiritualism is a religion because it strives to understand and to comply with the physical, mental, and spiritual laws of nature, which are the laws of God. So for those of you, this is wonderful because some of you have said, Psychic Bob, I believe in psychic things, but I was raised in a traditional church, and I guess I have to be Catholic or Baptist or Methodist. But really, I feel like the psychic stuff's more what I believe. What do I do with that? Because my church won't accept it. Well, see, that's why spiritualism exists. Spiritualism can be your religion. So your belief in psychic things that may not be accepted in your traditional church would be accepted in the spiritualist movement. Now, if you're fortunate, you may have a spiritualist church near you. They're rarer to find these days. If you're in the United Kingdom, the spiritualist church is practically on every corner. And so I'm a little envious of you in Britain because when I lived in England, I did not take advantage of the luxury of having a spiritualist church everywhere. And so that makes me sad. But now when I go back to Britain, you know, if you hear Psychic Bob's roaming around England, you just drift into your local spiritualist church and I'm sure to be there. And you see, so it is a religion. So for those of you particularly who have never even heard of this religion, spiritualism is a religion. I would encourage you to read the writings of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is one of my favorite books. I think I showed this to you before. I have an original first edition, 1918. This is a 100-year-old book. This literal book is original 100-year-old book. It's not a copy. From Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and it's called The New Revelation by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is his treatise on the religion of spiritualism, and I'll tell you, he exercises in this all 3 points. He exercises, the concept of spiritualism. He exercised it as a religion, as a philosophy, and as a science. And what I love about Sir Arthur is that he doesn't shy away. He's a little controversial, and then he puts it in your face in this book a little bit. But you have to understand, at the time, there was a lot of ridicule of spiritualism. People thought it was a cult. People didn't get it. And so Sir Arthur's challenges said that in this book, he reveals how spiritualism is very scientific, which he himself was a doctor. Before he became an author, he was actually a surgeon, a full medical doctor. So he was very versed in science. He talks about the philosophy, how that it opened his mind, and he talks about it as his religion, as his faith. And he talks about how Christianity has shut its doors to spiritualism when really spiritualism could be the greatest friend to the traditional church. But to this day, and now this has been 100 years since this book came out, unfortunately, most of the traditional Christian church does not accept spiritualists still. And so spiritualism is kind of branched off on its own as its own religion. So for those of you who may not want to be Wiccan, but are looking for something outside of mainstream Christianity, spiritualist church might be very welcome for you. As well as for those of you who may want to be Christian, but you want a broader definition of what it means. So you want a more open-minded and tolerant expression, spiritualism also is for you. As I told you, when I was in the spiritualist church, there was kind of a split, a debate as to whether we were a Christian church or a non-Christian church. At the time, because I was, had come out of the Catholic faith, I believed it was a Christian church. It seemed Christian. We had crosses in the church. We had a Bible on the altar we'd quote from each Sunday. But yet, the open-mindedness was very different than I found in churches. For those of you in England, you'll recognize this symbol. Many of the spiritualist churches are still identified as Christian in the UK. They call themselves Christian Spiritualists. And on most Christian Spiritualist churches, they'll have the blue cross. That's their symbol. So I keep the blue cross in my house because to me it is a spiritualist sign, and I am still a spiritualist. So, as I said, it is the science, the philosophy, and the religion. And so for wherever you are on your journey, spiritualism can meet you. Whether you're the hardest-nosed skeptic, whether you're the open-minded questioner who's always being told at your church, don't ask questions, or whether you're the mystic who wants to unite to the higher spirit, spiritualism can give each class of persons a doorway into knowing higher truth and having joy. So anyways, I want to encourage you today, meditate on these points and, tell me in the box below, have you ever been to a spiritualist church? Have you heard of the religion of spiritualism? Maybe you want to share with me in the box below. Maybe you've just discovered that this could be a new religion for you. Whatever way. Maybe you're a scientist and spiritualism has been able to prove itself. I'd love to hear that. So we're going to conclude today by again stating the 3 points. Spiritualism is a science. Spiritualism is a philosophy. And spiritualism is a religion. And there you go. Guys, thanks for being here. But listen, get comfortable. Pull up your chairs. We're going to have our little seance now. So I hope wherever you are that you'll join us. And we're going to open up and see what the spirit world has for us. I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Keep watching. It's coming right up here in just a minute. Well, Tubies, it is just so wonderful to be here. And as I said, we're now going to have our little seance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into trance. And I put myself in a trance state. During that time, spirit presences overshadow me. And they take temporary control of my body. They speak literally through me. And for those of you who have never seen a trance channeling, this may be a little strange or a little spooky. Don't worry, I'm in no pain. Somebody wrote to me and said, Bob, are you being possessed? And I like to clarify, no, I'm not being possessed. Possession is when a spirit forcefully takes over somebody against their will and destroys and dominates and destroys them ultimately. Trance channeling is nothing like that. Trance channeling is a partnership. I open my energy and I ask for the spirit people to share their energy. And so it's a blending of our energies, and then I step out of the way and let them come through. So it's actually a very peaceful process. I always feel better after I channel. So anyways, I hope that answers some questions I've been getting about it. But it's a good question. I remember the first time I saw channeling, kind of freaked me out. So anyways, not to worry, I'm fine. It's like I'm sleeping. So sometimes I hear a little bit. Have you ever been, like, for example, lying on the couch watching TV and you're like drifting off? And you can kind of hear what's going on the show, but you're not really connected. Well, that's what it's like when I channel. I'm like kind of sometimes hearing a little bit that's coming through, but I'm not really connected to it. So we'll see what they bring through today. Anyways, gather around your chairs here. If you're at my house, which in a sense you are, I'd have you put your chairs in a little circle here around me. So we're going to see what the spirit world has today. Come on along. Oh, by the way, I should say, as we talked about last week with our physical phenomena, I believe that channeling is a blend between physical and spiritual phenomena, and I work better in darker environments. So I'm going to turn off my light, and I'll see you when I get back. Make yourselves comfortable. Oh, greetings, this is Fletcher here. Oh, it's so good to be back with all of you. Well, I got to say, lots of soul glow out there today. And so many of you, you've been hearing the call of the spirit world. Oh, we've been out there preaching to all of you. We say, come to the seance, come connect with us. You know, if you're here tonight, it's because we brought you. You might say, well, I didn't hear no spirit voice be calling me. Well, but we did. We've been calling you for a long time. And your being here tonight is a sign that you're open to spiritual presences. So even if you be thinking, you say, well, I ain't got no psychic gift, I don't know why I'm here. Oh, just the very fact you're here means that on a psychic level, you got the message. And what you can do is ask for it to become a little clearer each day. And then you'll start to hear us more directly. Well, I'm so glad you're here. I got a few people be wanting to speak to you. So I'll be stepping from the body. This is Fletcher. Over and out. When we join with the humans, we align our force with them. As our medium spoke about channeling, it is true that it is not a possession. It is an alliance, a cooperation between the medium and those of us who dwell in the spirit realm. When I was a young man, I was involved with the Spiritualist movement for a while, and I saw mediums channel. And at the time I thought it all rather strange, and I thought, how is it that these people are coming through? What is this new reality that I am experiencing? The spirits of my youth who came through those seances that I attended said to me, they said, Alfred, one day you will devote your life to spiritual work. At the time I could not understand it, and I thought, well, I do not accept this. I don't think it is my path. I visualized myself as going into industry as my family had, running the firm and being a person of social prominence. Little did I understand that spiritual work would take me into different realms. Eventually I moved into ceremonial magics, and again I encountered channeling, for great magicians would channel entities in the circle and bring their messages across. They would channel them sometimes through a crystal or through a black mirror, and the messages would always come through. I came to have great confidence in this method of communication, for I used to say, if a spirit can't come through consistently and regularly, there must be something to this. It's not an odd one-off experience. It is a planned an effort, a coordinated effort, I should say. Unfortunately, as many of you know, my life took a dreadful turn as I got older. I explored opium and alcohol. These for a while took me into spiritual realms of great fantastic imagery and mystical experience. But the lure of drugs and alcohol is that they bring you temporary euphoria, but ultimately they let you down. They take you down a path of degradation and darkness. The centers that once opened through the use of the opiates and through the use of alcohol, I found would no longer open at the normal stimulation, so I would increase my intake of these substances. And what happened was that I became an addict. I remember the spirit that came through the seance when I was a young man in my 20s. The spirit said that I would have my whole life devoted to spiritual work. It's true, for a long time I did continue in my explorations in magic and spiritualism, but I never really took off. I suppose it's a case of too much distraction through drug and drink, and as well as lethargy. As many of you know, I came from a very wealthy family. A little bit religiously fanatic, might I add. I suppose my rebellion somewhat came from that. But you see, when you have great wealth, as I had in your youth, it's very easy to become complacent in life, become a playboy as I was. wander about the world seeking the next great thrill. Yet always in my mind it haunted me that the medium of the Spirit's prediction, I should say, that I would be a spiritual worker. I suppose had I listened more closely and took the advice of the spirit world, I would have progressed rapidly. Instead, I wasted my life. But here I am now in the spirit world, and I am able to come through and be of light and assistance to each of you here. And so the words of the Spirit were ultimately fulfilled. Now I have an eternal life, and I am devoting it to spirit work. But take a lesson from my life. Do not let yourself become so taken by the world, so enamored by its treasures and glitters and false promises of euphoria and drugs. Do not let it sway you from your true nature, your true self. For the very substances that I called upon to bring me power ultimately deceived me and brought me into darkness. If I had listened to the simple message of the spirits, I would have walked in a light that was much more in alignment with who I truly am today. Now I am able to come and speak to many. All over the world people hear me, and I am very thankful for the chance, I should say the second chance, that I received. Do not waste your human lives seeking after vain material glory. As many of you know, I'm very close to Rose over here. And Rose and I have often spoken about how the material world, though a blessing for our journey, can also be a great danger and a trap. All along the way there are traps set. For in the earth, as in the spirit world, there exists both good and evil. The evil is around you even now, but do not let it bring you fear, for it will have its power over you. But you must be aware that evil exists. And if you steer clear of it, if you say, I recognize it and I will not participate in it, and you have your free will intact and you will not be hampered nor hindered. This is not to say that evil will not take a strike at you now and then. Everybody is subject to the temptation and the game plans of the evil ones. But if you are walking in your light, you will have great power and you will not be subject to the evil ones. And so I thank each of you for being present today, that I might share my mind and heart with you. Please know that the spirit world is real. Your life is eternal. And what you do, what you say, what you think do matter now as well as in eternity. So make your mind, mold your mind, mold your constitution to the highest and the best. And then you will have the mind of God and the angels. And your journey will be one of joy. And when you complete it, you will return home, home to your natural place, the spirit world, with honor and glory. My name is Alfred. Oh, there we go. Oh, greetings everyone. Can you hear me? Oh, this is Rose. Oh, I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you. You know, Alfred is so kind to speak about me. And it is true, he and I have become fast friends over here. We've both done our shares in time and purgatory, and we don't wish to go back. No, we don't. But I come today to remind each of you that when the burden is heavy, when you feel that you cannot go on, that your earthly life is ebbing away, remember to ask for our presence. The spirit world has the ability to bring you light from the other side. It will uplift you and inspire you and bring you hope. Many of you here today have been calling upon me, as well as Alfred. You've said, dear ones from Spirit, come and help us. Oh, and we have heard you, and we are present with you. Please know that we're only a whisper away. You know, the other day I was speaking to my neighbor Madge. Many of you know her. And I said, Madge, thank you. Thank you for opening my mind to the truths of the spiritualist movement. And Madge said, oh, Rose, it's my pleasure. It was my joy on earth to go to seances in the Spiritualist church. And she said, oh, Rose, I only wish you had joined me for some of those seances and church events. And I said, you know, Madge, it's very true. I did not ever really follow through with you. But I did listen to you, and I did read some of the pamphlets that you gave me. You know, Madge used to give me little pamphlets from the Spiritualist church. I used to read them, and it was kind of interesting. But, you know, I was very caught up in my worldly life and really did not put much time into that. Oh, I wish I had now. But, you know, as they say, what is that saying Americans say? Hindsight is 20/20. I think that's the word. You know, we cannot look back, and if we do, we should not have too much regret. But we should look forward. And this is why we come to you from the spirit world. Many of you today are in positions where you feel that you cannot move forward in your life. If you're feeling like you're, what's the word, stuck. It's an American word, stuck, isn't it? If you're feeling like that, then maybe you need some help from our side. Perhaps you could call upon us, ask us to be present. If you but dare to reach out to us, I can assure you we will come and help you. And do not be afraid. Do not think, oh, if I become involved in spiritual things, that I'll have to become a monk or a nun and live in a convent. No, my dears. Spiritualism doesn't cut you off from your life. It actually brings you more fully into your life. So if you want to live fully, understand that you're a combination. Human beings are not just material bodies, though your science would have you believe that. You're a body, you're a mind, and you're a spirit as well. You're not going to someday become a spirit in the spirit world. You're already a spirit. You're simply a spirit currently inhabiting the earth world. Oh, but make no mistake about it, my dear, you come from over here, and eventually you shall return here. So why not begin your explorations today? You don't have to fear us. Those of us here in the spirit world want to help you. We will guide you and help you in all ways. I do hope you will accept our invitation to align with our world, and as our medium, who is most gracious to allow us to come through, might I add. As he had said earlier, I was listening and I heard him say that channeling is a partnership. It is an alliance, and it's very true. We don't force our way. We'll only come if we're invited. But I promise you, my dears, if you invite us, well, first of all, we won't stay too long. We shan't overstay our welcome, but we would like to be part of your world and help you. What do you have to lose, my dear? If you don't like us, you tell us, leave. I don't want to hear from the spirit one, and we're obligated by universal law to honor that principle. In the earthly realm, you do have the power, my dear, but some of you have lost your way. Let us bring you whisperings and glad tidings, and let us help you, my dears, find your way back onto your paths. Some of you here have great callings, and you've heard our world calling you for many years. Don't wait, my dears, let us come and help you, and we will bring you our presence, our light, and our joy. You might call upon me, and you might say, Rose, I felt you come, but then I felt another presence. Oh, don't let this alarm you, my dear. I come oftentimes and bring another guide with me, so that you will have a new guide. In time you will know their name. They might whisper it to you, I might share it with you. But be open to the unfoldment, that as you open to one of us, you open to all of us, and we'll be gladly able to help you. Fletcher says the medium's power is starting to fade, so I shall step from the party now. Please, my dears, know that I love all of you, and I will never forget you. Please call upon me. My name is Rose. Don't forget me, my dears. I shall never forget you. Oh, the power's starting to fade, and I feel it weakening. Thank you for receiving me, and please do remember to call upon me. You know, guys, whenever I come back from channeling, I just feel excellent. So I am so thankful to have had the chance to be a conduit for the spirit world. Listen, if you've enjoyed today's class and seance and you want to help Psyche Bob out, because you know I don't make any money doing YouTube, pop over to my website. I have some wonderful books there. This book is probably my favorite of all my books. Messages from Rose. And this tells about my work as a channel, as a trance channel, and my experiences and adventures as a medium working with my spirit guide, Rose. So if you haven't read that book, definitely check it out. And if you've already read it, maybe you'll pick up another copy and share it with a friend. Okay? While you're over there at my website, and again, the link's below, robert-hickman.com, check out my book, Ouija Mysteries, the Spirit Board Seances. That talks about my work with the Mystic Ouija Board. That's a wonderful book. We also have Psyche Bob's book of Wiccan Wisdom. So all of these are available over at my website, and I hope that you'll pop over there. And we have some others too. These are just the ones I have in front of me today. Definitely check it out. Listen, I need your help. YouTube is being challenging to me these days. They keep demonetizing me. They keep trying to push me out. I'm not getting a lot of publicity. Help me out. I need you to like this video if you've enjoyed it, favorite it, share it with your friends. You can post it on your website, post it on your Facebook. Let's get the word out about the work that we do here at Spirit Channel. Guys, thanks for being here. I love you. Listen, keep it here. Tomorrow is Sunday, and you know what that means? We're going to have the witching hour, and tomorrow's going to be a special witching hour. We now have 4 officers of the order, and we're going to call the quarters and do a special opening of energy to call the quarters. So I invite you guys to be here tomorrow, 8 p.m. Oops, I'm knocking things out. 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. London time, 2 a.m. Paris time. I hope you'll be back here. Till then, may you always blessed be.